Okay, Assalamualaikum and a very good morning to everyone. Welcome to today's exciting and insightful webinar titled Cross-Cultural and Social Diversity Organised for Subject HRM 678. I am Yasmin Sofia from Class 5E and I'll be your moderator for today's session. Today's session is organised by University Teknologi Mara Campus Bandaraya Melaka. It is a great pleasure to see everyone here and we truly appreciate your time to join us in this meaningful discussion. Before we proceed, I would like to kindly remind everyone to keep your microphones muted throughout the session unless you are invited to speak. You are most welcome to drop your questions in the chat box during the sharing session. This session aims to improve the importance of understanding and embracing cultural and social diversity, which is an increasingly vital aspect of today's global workforce. We are privileged to have an esteemed speaker with us today, Mr. Joel Chan, who will be sharing his knowledge and insights on this important topic. We also would like to extend our appreciation to Ms. Fariha, our lecturer, for her guidance and for joining us in this session. Without further delay, let us welcome Mr. Joel Chan to begin the knowledge sharing session.
Hi, good morning, everyone. Thank you
Good
for inviting
morning.
me. Yeah, thank you for inviting me to give a presentation, right, on cross-cultural and social diversity in HR management. So let me see. I just present my presentation slide first. Let me see. Give me a moment. Okay, finally. Okay, can you all see my slides? Let me see.
Yes.
Now, is it maximized or is it still minimized? You can see, right? The starting. I mean,
Yeah.
the first slide.
We can see.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you for the feedback. So, at any time, if you have any questions, right, just feel free to interrupt me, lah. You can just press the emoji to raise your hand or anything. Then I will stop to answer lah, your questions. Actually, the presentation that I prepared, because the person that I liaise with is with Najib. So I understand that I'm supposed to talk for 2 hours lah. But I think for effective presentation and with my own experience, 2 hours of just non-stop talking actually is quite boring, and you actually get distracted maybe after half an hour or so lah. So I will see how it goes. Maybe I will just pick the first half. Then we can have a short break, maybe of 5 to 10 minutes. Then we come back again lah. Yeah, I will see how the flows goes. And also, I think I will finish this presentation maybe more or less 1.5 hours time lah. Then another 10 minutes for Q&A session. Is it okay? Okay.
Okay, sure.
Okay, thank you, Yasmin. Okay, so as you all know, right, today, the reason why we have this is because part of your module is regarding HR management. And I understand that for any corporate organization, actually, HR management is very important lah. Because what makes up an organization is not just a product or service, right? So have you heard of the Forbes 500 company? You heard of Forbes 500 companies. So these are the 500 top companies in the world, okay, in terms of revenue. So the first five or six tech companies, we call it FANG, right? FANG. So for example, like Facebook, Amazon, Netflix, Google or Alphabet, right? So all these companies are actually, right? It's important that their product, as I say, right, their product or their services, for example, Facebook, it's like through WhatsApp, Facebook advertisement, right? That's how they get their revenue. And so the product or service, yes, it is the main reason why they have so much revenue. They can make like few hundred billions in a year. Amazing. But more importantly, what makes them so successful is actually the organization itself, right? And what makes an organization, right, is, as I say, not just product services. The second element is actually talking about the people inside. The machination means the gear. You imagine a machine, you got the gear and everything. So that's the machination of how the organization pushes, the product and services to the consumers. So the better your organization is, the better human capital that you have, right? Then the better you can offer your service and products. And also innovation. So you have better people, you have better human capital, then you have innovation happening, and your product and services always improves. Okay. And third, of course, is talking about management, which we won't cover. So actually, I'm talking more towards, like if you go next time in the future, if any of you have the opportunity, right? And if God willing, you become bosses, CEO or CFO or anything, right? And you need to take an MBA. So in the MBA, you will learn all these things. So the third element, I just put it out there, is talking about management itself. Okay, so the corporate management, the direction. So it's also important for an organization to be successful. The most important thing is their leaders. So the leaders also make very important or pivotal direction, okay, decisions. So you all know, for example, like Apple and so on, right? Why they are very successful is because of their founder, right? The late Steve Jobs. And then now you have Tim Cook. Okay, so yeah, that's just a bit yeah, just something that I would like to share, like, a bit interesting. Okay, since we're talking about HR, so a bit on myself, right? So I'm actually certified industrial hygienist, lah. So I'm actually more into occupational hygiene, environmental health, and regulatory compliance. So I work very closely with the Department of Occupational Safety and Health, which is a sub branch from the Ministry of Human Resource. So in fact, actually, I have met the two previous human resource minister before lah. If you all know Mr. Kulasegaran, I was YB Kulasegaran. Actually, I met him before lah. So yeah, so I've actually been in this line for very long lah. And I have a dual masters. Okay, so I my background actually is in engineering, but I also have another masters in occupational hygiene lah. So both of them, yeah, it's from UK universities lah. So as you can see, right, I'm a yeah, as you mentioned, as I mentioned just now, I'm a EHS consultant, which means environmental health and safety, and I'm also a HRD Corp trainer lah. I'm a certified HRD Corp trainer. So I believe you all know lah, right? What HRD stands for, right? So it's a Human Resource Development Corporation. It used to be Human Resource Development Fund, but now it's Human Resource Development Corporation. So I've worked actually with a lot of multinational and local companies lah, mainly all the big companies lah. So if you go into like the Bursa Malaysia, so the blue chip companies, right? Most of them, they are my customers lah. So I know my subspecialty is in occupational safety and health, but HR is very essential lah, for my work because I need to gather talents, right? So I'm a consultant. I help to build teams, safety and health teams, to roll out a lot of programs and policies lah. So that's why, right? No matter whichever field you go, right? Even if it's, for example, F&B, right? In the future, maybe some of you, and you might be thinking, what actually HR has to do with F&B? Okay, so it has everything to do with F&B because, F&B has everything got to do with HR because as you climb up the corporate ladder, as you become managers in the future, okay, so HR becomes more and more essential because you are not a lone wolf, you're not a one-man show. You cannot run the entire company on your own, right? Doing everything from, the grassroots to the top, you cannot, right? So we have to be very conscious and aware of what we are good at and what other people are good at. So that's what I do lah. So that's how I roll out all this roll out all these projects, right? So when COVID that time, I work with a lot of companies to roll out the risk assessments, making sure that they don't get sick, when they come to the workplace, and then I improve the workplace environment and get people assemble teams lah. Okay, so I'm also a research collaborator. Okay, so the objective of the session now. So just to give you an idea, there are 4 items that we want to cover. So number 1 is back to the topic, right? So we need to understand what is diversity in a HR context, right? So diversity in terms of nation building, or diversity in terms of education, or even diversity in terms of, technology or whatever it is, right? So diversity comes from the root word diverse, right? Means pelbagaian, right? Kepelbagaian. So, but what we want to focus today is, right, regarding HR. Second, we want to explore inclusive practices and generational differences lah. So I think this is also very important because when next time you all come out into the workplace, the workforce, you will still need to work with older people, all the uncle, auntie, or the pakcik, makcik. So the way they work is very different. The way they think is also very different. So if we as a young people, or even let's say you interact with me, right, we are different already, because I'm Gen Z already, and I think you guys are millennials. So it's different because, it's different because, right, the way we think, our habits, our motivations are on of why we work, right, is actually all different. So I will explain later lah. Okay. And then third one is examine cross-cultural communication and ethical concerns lah. So also as you come, as I say, right, next time as you all grow older and you all climb the corporate ladder, so the bigger an institution or organization is, right, there'll be more cross-cultural interactions, right? So I think Malaysia, we are of no surprise lah, right? Because we live in a multi-cultural society, right? So we are very used to it. But for other countries, for example, in the West, let's say, I've worked with, companies in the UK, right? So most of their companies are just Westerner, Mak Saleh. So sometimes it's very hard to adapt, when you have people from another different nationality or ethnicity, race. So how do we actually navigate around this, and how do we bring the best out of everybody, lah? Okay. So actually, I will explain later. There is actually strength in differences. We always think that, okay, if everybody thinks the same, right? Everybody thinks the same everything, then the organization or the company can go very far. But that's not necessary, because later if we go through, right, we see all the big companies, the Fortune 500 companies are actually the management and even down to the operation also. Diversity is actually a strength, right? So there'll be reasons why, factors why. And then last is develop global strategies with cultural intelligence, okay. So finally, right, we want to talk about, okay, so we have already understand, cross-cultural difference and diversity and everything. How do we actually implement this in a global setting, right? And how do we develop cultural intelligence so that we don't offend each other, when we work, and how do we bring the best out of each other? So there are actually six subtopics, okay, or six items. So you can see roughly I will spend about this amount of minutes. So the first one is introduction and importance of diversity in HR. Okay. Second is inclusivity and workforce diversity. Third is generational differences. Fourth is cross-cultural communication. Fifth, bias discrimination and ethical HR practices. Six, global HR strategies and cultural intelligence. Okay, and finally, we have a short Q&A session. Okay, so what is human resource, right? So anyone got any idea what is human resource? Okay, so I believe, just now we have a few 1 or 2 minutes of silence, right? And then we actually really ask ourselves, how much do we understand when we talk about human resource? So human resource, plainly to put it, right, it refers to the people who make up the workforce of an organization, right? As I mentioned just now. So the organization itself, okay. So let me see. Sorry, somebody. Okay, I continue. Okay, so as I mentioned just now, there are three main elements of what makes an organization or even a successful organization. So human resource is one of them. So it includes all employees from entry level to top management, right? So I don't know how much you understand how a corporate body functions. So in a business organization, the highest level is what we call the board of directors, right? Or the pengarah, okay? So they don't actually run, so to say, run the day-to-day operation of the company, right? So the board of directors actually set the direction, set the policies, set the goals, the objective, the targets and everything. Then below the board of directors, who would they appoint to actually oversee the entire company? Then it is the CEO. So that's every time we always hear CEO. So CEO is the one that runs the company, is appointed by the board of directors. So when we talk about entry level to top management, right, the second point, it talks about until the CEO level. We're not talking about the board of directors. So that one is already, that's already management already. So this top management we're talking about is still the executive level. Means they still run the company. HR also refers to the function or department responsible for managing people-related processes. So as long as you are living in this world, you cannot escape human interaction. And where there is human interaction, there will always be conflicts, there will always be problems and issues. So we need to learn how to negotiate and navigate ourselves through all this, right? How to find compromises, how to find agreements, how to, manage disagreements and so on and so forth, conflicts. So human resource are as a strategic asset. So employees are an organization most valuable resource, as I mentioned. So you can have the second or the third world best maybe drink, okay, for example, canned drink, okay. But if you have the best employees, right, you have the best team, sales team, marketing, so on, right, then you're able to market, you're able to sell your drinks, right? So whereas in comparison, you might have the best product, huh, the best drink, okay, so to say, but then you have bad employees, you have bad human capital, you have a bad team. So then you're not able to sell. You're not able to sell your product, you're not able to market your product. So at the end, the company will suffer, right? So the company won't be successful. So human resource also contributes to skill, knowledge, creativity, and labor, okay? And effective HR management aligns workforce capabilities with organizational goals. So I think I mentioned this many times already. So HR management, uh, you know, or next time you'll become HR managers, right? Remember uh, your responsibility or your role is actually to get the best people who are good at what they do and they can fit with the organization and they can push the organization, okay, to grow even more. So the key functions of human resource management. So okay, so you asked me, right, what are actually the roles and function of a human HR manager, or the HR department? So number one, of course, is recruitment and selection, okay. So of course, we don't talk about now this day. We got a lot of recruitment agencies, right? I know many recruitment agencies. So they help the HR department of companies, okay, for recruitment and selection. But at the end of the day, right, actually it is the HR department, the internal HR department, that makes the decision to who to recruit and who to select. So actually the HR plays a very important role, because if the HR department is very poor in recruiting and selecting people, what happens is you get poor human asset, human capital. And most of the time when the people that you get in, okay, they do not know what is the job scope, the job role, and they get disillusioned and they get confused because they realize, oh, this is not something that I'm good in, in my workplace. So they'll get frustrated, right? So we want to get, again, the best people to do the jobs and to function certain responsibilities in the company. Next is training and development. So once we already identify some of these people, talent recruitment, right, we get all these talents that are good in the organization. We also want to see them grow. We don't want just to allow them to just stay where they are, right? Because over the years, right, we always need to see grow. Because if, let's say, the person maintains the same, right, or let's say if your organization doesn't grow in terms of your knowledge, your experiences, your development, what happens is the growth is stunted. Stunted means the growth, it just stays there. So training and development also very important. So that's why we need to send them for trainings. And that's why Malaysia, right, we have HRD Corp, Human Resource Development Corporation, because we want to push Malaysia as a whole, our organization, to get better and better. So we are on par with the other countries. So that's what I also do, right? Because so that's why I go to companies and institutions, I train them. Okay. Then of course you have a lot like all the rollouts of all the what is this? Systematic management training and so on, and then Lean Sigma. You have all the different belts and everything. So next to this one, next time when you come out, or Kaizen, for example, the Japanese type of direction or the Japanese way of management, right? So all this actually is to continue to improve the organization. So you will come across all this next time when you work. Then of course next also we want to compensate them, and we want to uh, let them know what are the benefits, right? So when they come to work, how much salary given to them, is it reflective of the contribution that they bring into the company? So most of the time HR works with the top management, right, to decide. And then employee relations. So for example, if your employee got some issue with another colleague or some issue with the boss, so they will usually come to the HR, right? Then finally is diversity and inclusion, which we'll touch more today. Okay, so what is inclusivity? So you see, right, the jigsaw, so many hands, so people of different races. Okay, there are various definition. Okay, the first one from Harvard Business Review. Okay, inclusion is about how well the contribution, presence, and perspective of different groups of people are valued and integrated into an environment. So you see, inclusion is more of how accepting we are, okay, to people of different ideas, people of different group, people of different culture, different people of different races, right? Society for Human Resource Management states that inclusion is the achievement of a work environment in which all individuals are treated fairly and respectfully, have equal access to opportunities and resources, and can contribute fully to the organization's success. So, one of the achievement, good achievement of a work environment, right, is when we can start to see inclusion. Okay, so what happens is when we treat all the people that come to our organization or in a company fairly and respectfully, right, then people are not afraid to give ideas. So sometimes, right, the more ideas you have, the better it is. Okay, so I'll explain why the more ideas, the better the company actually grows. Okay, Deloitte. I believe you all know Deloitte, right? The big four audit firms. Okay, so they also do management consultancy. Okay, inclusion is the degree to which an employee perceives that they are an esteemed member of the work group through experiencing treatment that satisfy their needs for belongingness and uniqueness. Okay, I like this one. Again, inclusion is the degree to which an employee perceives that they are an esteemed member of the work group through experiencing treatment that satisfies their needs for belongingness and uniqueness. Okay, so inclusion is more of like, okay, imagine when you come to a workplace, it's not that when you go back on Friday you forget about your colleagues. A good company that is very inclusive is where when you go to your office or your workplace, you look forward to the people that you meet. They feel that they belong to the company. So that is very important, because once the company is able to instill that into their employees, then the employee will have developed loyalty to the company. Okay. So I will explain later also why all this workplace loyalty and all this thing, which it was much easier to develop during the baby boomer or generation X, the earlier generations people like my parents that generation. Okay, it's easier, but nowadays the approach is different already, and all these things are quite important
Sir,
Yeah,
sorry to interrupt, but I think the slide is not changing.
stop.
I think
Oh, really? Oh, sekejap. Let me see. Just now stop until where?
slide 4, I think.
Okay, can you see now?
Okay, yes.
Slide 4 is, let's see, slide 4. Oh, it was stuck in slide 4 only. Oh, you all managed to see now what is human resource?
Yes.
Okay, so you have not seen all these slides now,
Yeah, starting slide 5.
which is this one?
I think it's not moving.
It's not moving. Oh, how come?
Okay. We can see it now.
Wait, okay, sekejap, give me some time. Now okay. Boleh? Now?
Yeah, can.
Okay, let's say I go to the next slide. Human resource as a strategic asset. Boleh?
No.
No.
How come? Now, no, still start at what is human resource.
Yeah, still start at what is human resource.
Yeah. Okay, you know what? I'm going to do this. Okay, how about now? Can you see I changed the slide?
Yes,
Yeah.
this one better. You can see
Okay,
all.
thank you. I apologize lah. Okay, so I just show you back lah. Just now some of the slide I go through. Thank you for interrupting me. Or not, I would have spoken longer without showing the slide. Okay, so what is human resource? Just now I already shown, explained already. Right, so refers to the people who make up the workforce of an organization lah. That's all our understanding, right? Most of us, we have our understanding when we talk about human resource. It's about this lah. Okay. And then human resource as a strategic asset. So that's why just now I mentioned there are 3 points, because I said what makes an organization or business successful is actually the people inside. Okay. Then these are key function of human resource management. So you all must know this. Okay. Because these are, next time you'll become HR managers or you work in the HR team. Okay. So the first point is recruitment and selection. Okay. You actually decide, with the top management, who are the people that suits the different roles in an organization. And then second is training and development. So once you get the people, you set up the team, you don't want the team just to stay the same, right? Because everyone, everywhere is growing. You're not only competing with among yourself, but you're also competing with other companies, other businesses, other organizations. So they will also progress. So we need to progress, right? So that's why we got training and development. And so that's why HR also so important, because we will then actually identify what are the key areas that we feel is the weakness. So there are many type of surveys or analysis but I won't go through today because they will have surveys done to see what are the weaknesses and everything. Then actually they will send them for training for uh, development and training. Performance management also. So once you get the people working in a company, so we also need to we need to oversee their performance, right? We can't just leave them and then they do whatever they want. So we need performance, we need KPI. So we always measure apa tu KPI, key performance index lah. So every staff that once you go into a private organization, especially, we have performance management. So we want to see how well you perform. So then that comes to the fourth point about compensation and benefit. Because the more you perform, the more you can better contribute to the organization, right? The more we will compensate you and the more benefits you get. And so that's why from there, you also go to next. Money is also very important. Of course, money is the reason why most people go, right? Salary, they go to work. But more importantly also, let's say if the workplace environment or the employee relationship between among colleagues to colleagues, or even among employees to the employer or the boss, right, is bad, then that will also affect the organization, right? So then you will have a very high turnover rate. Turnover rate means a lot of people quit, you know, and then you will always have problems. And then finally is diversity and inclusion. We also want to include a very diverse and build an inclusive environment, because the more diverse your organization is, especially if you're a very big company, then the better it is. So when we talk about inclusivity, this is where I think I stopped just now. You can see the jigsaw, right? Okay, so just now I mentioned already Harvard Business Review's definition, Society for Human Resource Management, Deloitte. Okay, so Catalyst also has their own definition. Okay, more or less same like the one in Deloitte. Okay, so I want to introduce you to Bernardo Friedman. So Bernardo Friedman, right, is an organizational psychologist. So he works with the United Nations. Inclusion involves creating a culture that encourages collaboration, flexibility, fairness, and leverage diversity. So all individuals are able to participate and contribute to their full potential. So you see, why we want inclusion? Because when you have a very inclusive environment, It encourages people to work together. You got more flexibility, and you have fairness where everybody feel that it is fair. Okay, they're not afraid to voice out their opinions. Okay, they feel they are treated properly. So when we able to do this and we can leverage diversity, right? So everybody can work very well, okay, in organization. Okay. So according to him, right, you see, so it's the intentional practice of creating a work environment and organizational culture, okay, where all individuals, regardless of their background or identity, feel valued, respected, accepted, and supported to fully participate and contribute. So when I go to a workplace, right, or next time when you all go to a workplace, you don't want to be just going to a workplace and whatever people tell you to do, you just do, right? You want to feel that you go there, people respect your opinion, right? People respect your contributions. People want you to be there. So that's why you continue to go there, right? You feel a sense of belonging. Now we talk about workforce diversity. Okay. So this time we talk about inclusivity. Now about workforce diversity. So you ask yourself, what is the difference? Yeah, it's quite similar, but actually it is still different. So according to Harvard Business School, okay, Coates and Blake, they mentioned diversity is the representation in one social system of people with distinctly different group affiliations of cultural significance. So diversity now is not talking about the working, not talking about creating that working environment, that safe space, but more about the character of that organization, that workforce. Okay, next one, workforce diversity refers to the way in which people in an organization are different from and similar to one another. You see? And then, of course, SHRM also says that diversity refers to the collective mixture of differences and similarities that include individual and organizational characteristics, values, belief, experiences, backgrounds, and behaviors. Okay? So when we talk about diversity, right, in an organization, okay, it includes differences in the people that we employ, okay, not limited to race, gender, okay, age, ethnicity, religion, physical ability, socio-economic background, education, and personality. You see, so many factors. Okay, so a diverse, a diverse organization, right, is not just about race and not about culture, but it's also talking about age, talking about physical ability. So some maybe, they are on a wheelchair or something, right? So, or for example, different ages, socio-economic background. Some may be from slightly poorer background, richer background, different education. Some maybe only have diploma level or until up to SPM, or some only got degrees. Some you got PhD, some more, and different personality. So when all you have such a diverse presence in your organization, what happens? Okay, next. So why inclusion and diversity matter in an organization? Okay, so number one, the most important, it drives innovation and creativity. Okay, so there is a famous, I read before an article. So most tech companies, right, you might be surprised, the boss go to the interview, right? And when they want to hire people, okay, so for example, Google or Alphabet, okay, the parent company, they want to hire people. So they will always ask them questions, very, very funny, weird questions. Okay. And you might be surprised, the people that they hire is not always the people that always agree with them. So, and always think alike like the bosses, So, big organization or tech companies like that, right? They appreciate innovation. They appreciate differences. So, what they look for when they actually hire people is not people that agree with them. They will hire people that actually have different personality, different thinking, and actually don't agree with them. So that is the strong point HR management, because you are able to see the value of what might be weak and what might be oblivious. That means blinded to you, but the other person can see, and the other person can fit in very well. So a diverse team, coming to the first point, brings different perspective, experiences, and problem-solving approaches. Okay, imagine if everybody is just a fish, right? And then they need to learn how to climb a coconut tree. Of course, everybody will fail, right? Because we are all fishes. So you need to get you need to get another animal that can climb a tree. So don't worry if right now it's a student, right? Sometimes you think very differently from other people, okay? But now because you are still in university, okay, you still need to learn how to conform to the society, conform to your lecturer, your university. But you must always appreciate the differences in your thinking, okay? So that will set you apart. McKinsey, you all know McKinsey, one of the big management consultancies, found that companies in the top quartile for ethnic and gender diversity on executive teams were significantly more likely to outperform on profitability. So talking about gender, right? Nowadays, when we see the workforce, even my own experience, you're not surprised to see more and more CEO are actually ladies. And you actually find out that they're actually very good in their job, right? So because from a lady or a woman perspective, when she sees certain things, it's very different from how a man sees it, right? So, and actually that helps, the company. So one of the good example is for example, like Pepsi, right? PepsiCo. So the CEO, I don't know whether now is it still the lady CEO lah, but it's Indian American Indian lady, and so you can see how with as a woman, right, she always very proud to say that she's a woman in a very male dominated area, and she's able to do a lot of things and help the company to grow. So inclusion ensures that diverse voices are heard and acted on. Okay. Second, improves employee engagement and retention. Okay. So besides innovation, besides development and growth, right? Also, we want for employees to engage, right? So that I mentioned just now, they have a sense of belonging, and also we want to retain them. Imagine an organization where it is not friendly, it's not inclusive, right? So whenever you say something, okay, the boss straight away say, oh, this is a wrong thinking, like you cannot say like that, and this kind of thing. So at the end of the day, right, slowly, and surely, one day nobody want to say anything already. Nobody want to voice their opinions because the boss always say, oh no, I'm the only one that's right, only my opinion is right. And so what happens is the people will also leave because they feel they cannot contribute. So inclusive culture foster a sense of belonging and psychological safety. So I mentioned this now. Okay. So they are not afraid to voice their opinion. Okay. But of course, don't let your opinion offend other people, right? Employees who feel respected and included are more likely to be committed, satisfied, and loyal. Okay. So a good organization is also an organization that can retain their workers for a very, very long period of time. So most Japanese companies, right, the first company that they work in is the last company they actually retired. Okay. So why? Because in the Japanese or the East Asian culture, right, so they have this very deep sense of loyalty towards the company. And so when you have people who are very loyal to the company, what happens is it's a good thing because uh, you don't always have to train people. So in a HR perspective, and once you get people to work in your organization, they cannot immediately contribute. So the higher in the hierarchy, right, of jobs, right, a position in a company, the longer it takes for the person to be used to their working environment so that they can contribute. So for example, if somebody is at the bottom, the technician operator, okay, maybe if you get a new operator, okay, the downtime is only maybe 2 to 3 months. So by the third month, after coming to the fourth month, they're already able to do their work already. But as you climb higher and higher, it's different. So the higher your position is, the longer it takes. So for example, maybe a manager, right, it will take at most 9 to 12 months for them just to understand what is the business nature of the organization. Not talking about contribute. Then only they can start contributing maybe after 1 year or so. Okay. So we want to reduce turnover and related costs because every time people leave, we come in, okay, efficiency drop, and we need to train these workers again. We need to send them for some specific trainings, okay, if their job is very niche, very specialized. Okay, it also enhances decision making and team performance. So research by Global Pop shows diverse and inclusive team makes better decision up to 87% of the time. So it's like what I mentioned just now, right? The analogy of the fish and then the monkey, and then you need to climb up the tree, right? So when you have a diverse team, group, then yeah, you'll make better decisions. So diversity reduces group think and broadens strategic thinking. Okay. Fourth, we also want to attract top talent. Okay, so today's workforce, especially younger generation, prioritize employers with strong diversity and inclusion values. So nowadays, our workforce, we don't just focus on the local context anymore, right? Sometimes we include foreign talents also. So for example, like, I work with people in the Philippines, Indonesia, Singapore, and of course the West, US, UK, Europe. So it is because we live in a very globalized world already. So, and also for yourself also, when you go to an organization also, right? So you want to go to an organization that attracts top talents, right? That appreciates your talents, appreciates your contribution. So inclusive companies have stronger employer brands and appeal to global multicultural talent pools, right? So that's the reason why during my time when I was in uni, everybody want to work with Google, right? Because Google, in the workplace, you have slides, you can have gaming room, you have pool table and everything. So it's very different lah, the culture there. huh? So when your company is so inclusive, right, everybody wants to work in those companies. Okay. So, Werner Myers, VP of Inclusion Strategy at Netflix, diversity is being invited to the party, inclusion is being asked to dance. Huh? So you get it, huh? So that's why I said diversity is the characteristic of the organization. It's more of the characteristic of the talent pool, right? So it means the organization is diverse, means they can accept anybody, lah, okay, of different cultural standing, races, and so on and so forth. But inclusion is the environment that we create, okay, is where we very inclusive. We allow people to voice their opinions, to talk, not afraid to make any mistakes, lah, okay. Okay, key dimension of diversity. So when we talk about diversity, there are three key dimension. Internal dimension is talking about age, race, gender, and physical ability, lah. Okay. And so internal is something that you are born with. Understand? Internal is something that you're born with. You cannot change. For example, your age, you cannot change your age, you cannot change your race, you cannot change your gender and your physical ability, right? So those are internal. External is something that you can change. Education, for example, right? So some people, they don't have a degree. So when they come to the workplace, they work, and then they are very good in their job. And then the company sees that, hey, not bad, I want to promote you, but I feel you don't have the qualifications. So they send them, to be educated. So marital status is also external because those are the things like, for example, the choices that we make, lah. Either you're married, not married, so on. And then religion also, lah. Okay. Third one is organizational, which talks about function, seniority, and department, lah. Okay. So when you talk about very diverse organization, it talks about a very diverse function in terms of seniority, people of, who came in first, and work for the company. So they are very senior already in a company. And then the different departments. So inclusivity versus diversity. Diversity focuses on the who, ensuring different identities, backgrounds, and perspective are represented within a group or organization. Okay, but inclusion focuses on the how those diverse individuals are actively engaged, value, and feel a sense of belonging. Very clear now. So diversity talking about who are the people that we want to invite, right? Okay, inclusion talking about how we want to create this environment, okay, where these diverse people can work together. Okay, so this one is a bit heavy. Benefits of inclusive workforce. Okay, so the first one is talk about higher morale and productivity, lah. Okay, so this one is linked to management theory. So next time if you do an MBA or you go to Harvard or maybe you go to University Penn, okay, do your MBA, right? Or the Ivy Leagues, okay, they will teach you all this thing, lah. Herzberg two-factor theory and Maslow's hierarchy of needs. higher morale and productivity. So inclusive workforce actually generates or produces higher morale and productivity. Okay, broader talent acquisition, resource-based view, and human capital theory lah. Okay, so that's linked to that theory. So when you have an inclusive workforce, you got broader talent acquisition, and then increased innovation. So this is linked to social identity theory and information decision making theory lah. Okay, so I have all these slides. You got time, you can go through lah. Huh? Okay, types of workforce diversity. So visible and invisible diversity traits lah. Okay, so visible diversity is surface level diversity, right? So traits that are easily seen or observed, such as age, gender, race, ethnicity, physical abilities, disabilities. So these are the visible traits, okay, of diversity. Okay, when we talk about invisible, the deep level diversity, right? You see in bracket, traits that are not immediately obvious. So this one requires you to talk to each other, right? So this one only you get to know them once you have spent some time together, lah. Okay. So for example, education, socio-economic background, religion, sexual orientation means your gender, lah. I'm not talking about the other stuff. Talking about gender, values, beliefs, and experiences. So these traits affect deeper interpersonal dynamic, trust, and collaboration over time. Okay. So when we talk about invisible diversity, these are the things that you cannot really see immediately, or it won't be in your CV most of the time. So these are talking about things like your personality, your character, your education, your socioeconomic background, your culture, your values, belief, experiences. So most of the time, right, actually, HR, good HR, they are able to, of course, identify visible diversity. Those are the things that you cannot hide, right? For example, your past work experience, which company you work for. But invisible diversity is the one that is harder. And good HR departments and teams very early on, they already can see their invisible traits of these people. So it's important. So I know for big organizations, successful organizations, they actually have all this personality and aptitude tests to actually identify what are the invisible traits. For example, if you work with Khazanah, right, it's not easy, to work to go inside Khazanah. So they will have all these online tests that you need to do, right? So then from there, they were able to gauge whether you actually can work or gel very closely with the organization. Okay, so dimension of diversity framework by Garden, Watts, and Rowe. Okay, so internal dimension, this one I mentioned already just now. Okay, organizational dimensions. Okay, so just now also I already mentioned already. Okay. Okay, so what are the barriers to inclusion? All right, so the first one is bias and stereotyping. All right, so many times when we go into an organization, we already have some underlying bias and stereotypes. Okay, so you all know what's bias and stereotypes, right? So we think, okay, this person, he looks like very big size, so he's very lazy. We always have this kind of thinking, right, which is very bad. It's not necessary lah. Okay, maybe due to some health reason. So the person is maybe overweight. So we have this bias stereotype. We think, okay, so this person is very lazy. But you might be surprised, actually, the person who is thinner than the other guy is more lazy. But this other guy who is like overweight one is very hardworking, right? So we need to get rid of all these bias and stereotypes. And how do we actually go overcome all this is when we get to know the person, right? When we spend time and get to know the person, we realize, hey, actually this person is not like that, Okay, lack of leadership commitment. Okay, the other one is when the management fails to see the importance of inclusion. Okay, so especially the HR department. Okay, so maybe they set out initially, they want to have a very inclusive environment, but then over the years, they realize that it's very difficult. So I give you one very good example. So most organizations, right, we know that there is a discrimination for against women in the workplace, right? And one of the reason why is because many organizations, they are worried that once they hire a woman and let's say she starts a family, right, marries, starts a family, and she has children, then she'll be on a maternity leave for 6 months, and of course now a lot of organization and companies are they trying to promote more and more women coming in and actually extending the maternity leave, which I think is good lah, right? Because if we punish women for that, right, then we won't have Malaysia lah, right? So the next, I don't know, next generation, we won't have any children anymore. So that's why the leadership is very important. So the organization must make a stand. So initially, maybe they hire more women and they see that, okay, one by one, all these women going to maternity leave, and they suddenly have a shortage of manpower, right? And so then now the management thinking, I don't know whether I want to still continue to commit to this. So once the management resume back to the old way, then it's quite sad lah, But let's say if they continue to stick with that, say, never mind, then we just hire more people lah, So then once these mothers come back, right, then it's different because mothers are the way when they do things is very different, right? Like I say, men and women we're all created differently by God. Same also, how a father and a mother thinks and everything. So when you have young mothers in the organization, right? So it actually helps the organization because maybe certain products or certain things, right? Actually, they are able to understand well, right? They're able to execute them better, and maybe perhaps they have more compassion, right? More empathy, right? So then, as a whole, the organization will flourish, lah. Okay, then the third one is communication gaps, lah. So the barriers to inclusion, the third one, right? So when we fail to talk about it, okay, so we always feel very shy to talk about all these things. So what happens is we create barriers now. So it's better early on, right? We create an environment where, let's say, if we have something that we feel is not right or anything, right, then we can just freely share among each other. Okay, so in contrast, just now was barriers, now it's inclusive HR practices. So bias-free recruitment. So when you as a HR manager, don't because the person face nampak macam garang-garang, and then maybe got scar in the face, everything, then you thought this guy may be gangster or something, or ex-convict or something, you don't want to hire that person, right? So you got already a bias form in your mind, but you realize when you talk to that person, actually the person is a very friendly person, and he will fit very well in the organization. Just example inclusive leadership training. So that's what I do now is a lot of organizations, they hire me, so I actually teach them, train them, and I share to them the things that I also share to you, some part of them, so that the leaders are able to understand, okay, and make better decisions. And then you got an employee resource group. So this, for example, like, you create a WhatsApp group, in the workplace, and, you promote, good, healthy conversations and everything. And then you share here and there a bit of your life and things like that, right? So that creates a very healthy relationship. And that kind of bond is what people look forward to actually when they come to work, aside from money. Now, okay, now it's 10 o'clock already. So do you guys want to go for a break?
Sure, can.
Okay, so maybe you'll come back at 11:10. We take a 10-minute break.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Okay,